So going back to putting these two figures side by side. So on your um, outline, you've got them lying on top of each other. So I'm going to separate them out just a little bit. And you can see they both have neurons. So whenever you see a neuron cell body, there's a little dot like this. All right, so there's a neuron in the spinal cord. Here's a neuron over here on the parasympathetic side. So those neurons are, this first neuron originates in the spinal cord. So they're like that way. So the first initial message coming from your central nervous system, your spinal cord, or up here in the brain stem, and then it's going to meet up with another neuron. So they're both alike this way. So for instance, if the neuron's traveling to the eye with parasympathetic, here's the other neuron cell body out here. All right, so it actually goes all the way out to the organ in that case. Synapses, which means it releases a chemical. Neuron number 1, we're going to call it preganglionic. It's also could be called a presynaptic neuron, meets up with neuron number 2 out at the eye. In the case of the parasympathetic system, that would make your pupils to constrict. All right, so we always have 2 neurons involved. So over here on the sympathetic side, there's neuron number 1. So it's going to connect here with neuron number 2 and then travel out to the eye. All right, so in this case, the sympathetic system, we're going to see these second neurons. I'm going to put a dotted line down here, and you're not going to have to label any figures. These are only to give you a global understanding. Maybe the visuals will help. So the second neuron for the sympathetic system isn't embedded in the organ so much like it is with the parasympathetic over here. They're in a chain. So these neurons exist in what we call ganglia groups of cell bodies. We've already studied a dorsal root ganglion. Remember that from the spinal cord? Dorsal root ganglion, it actually has cell bodies from sensations, from sensory cells. But these are now ganglia that hold cell bodies that are sending information out. All right, so in this case, if we're talking about the eye, so here is the information goes to the eye, and when the chemicals released on the eye, in this case, it makes your pupil dilate. All right, so we're going to see at the end of lecture that that we're going to have consistent responses with sympathetic are going to be for keeping you alert, versus parasympathetic is more of a resting nervous system. So it helps you to quiet down and rest.